It's November the 5th, Anderson County Council meeting, and talking to Craig Wooten. We're going to recap the meeting for you and tell you what you missed.
Yes, tonight we started at 6 o'clock for our first meeting of the month, and we go every first and third Tuesday of the month, and at 6 o'clock we'll do awards or recognitions, and at 6:30 we start the regular meeting. And tonight we started at 6 o'clock for two ladies in the county that I believe are just fantastic, bar none, and that's Faith Line and Annie Sutton. They work at our Anderson County Library. Miss Line is the head librarian, and Miss Annie Sutton is a librarian there also. And Miss Line was inducted to the Hall of Fame for the Library Association, and Miss Sutton was named Librarian of the Year for the Library Association for the state. So it's a wonderful resource that we have with our county library, and we have two ladies there who are doing an exceptional job and have been for a long time. From there, we started the regular meeting.
But before we had one other honor.
We did.
It wasn't an honor necessarily, but it was moving ahead with something pretty big for the county.
Yeah, this was a resolution, and this was brought forth to us a couple of weeks ago in the county council meeting, but this was a resolution where we affirmed our support of it, and Belton is pursuing a natural history museum, and this comes from a large donation from a local family that was taxidermists, and these are animals from all over the world that are going to provide a unique museum experience in Belton, maybe just bar none for the whole state, where kids can come, where individuals can come and see items that you would not be able to see anywhere else. So this is a positive thing. They're going to take this resolution and support from the county, and they're going to move ahead with our state delegation. They're going to be seeking support in Columbia, but I feel confident this is something we're going to see turn into a reality for Belton, and it's some great work by the ladies involved down there.
And it will mean Belton is the only town, I think, in the state with two state museums.
Yes, and that's, once again, there's so many things going on in Anderson that I don't think people realize, and most of the time it's because of our citizens or our leaders. They decide they want to do something, and they get behind it, and they see it through. So the determination of these two women, I have no doubt that this museum is going to become a reality. Well, from there we went into 6:30, which is our normal county council meeting, and we had a whole host of things we talked about, but we started with a detention center update. And the detention center is unique, and I try to explain this to folks all the time because it was new to me when I came on council. People that go to the detention center, or what you call a county jail, the majority of them are waiting trial. They haven't been convicted of anything yet. Now, there's evidence that they might have done something, they've been arrested, but they're waiting to go see a judge. And then there's a small part of the folks who are there actually serving out a sentence that's been held out by a judge. And so right now, we have an operational capacity of about 197. That means 197 people can functionally be in the jail. But we have over 400 people currently in the jail. So obviously that's problematic, not only for safety of the inmates, but it's also problematic for the safety of the folks that are working there. So we've worked diligently with a council that we've put together internally to look at the solicitor's office and the sheriff's office and the magistrates and what the county's doing in the booking process. And it's a working group that everybody's voluntarily been a part of to say, how can we streamline this process, and how can we know that our processes are doing right by the people who work there and the people who are being incarcerated. And from that, we approved tonight to go forward with a feasibility study where we'll hire professionals. How can we redo the jail or build a new facility that will house people correctly, that will be safe for all the parties concerned, that will meet the requirements of the county, and do so in a way that saves the taxpayer money, and that we're responsible for what we're doing. So that's been interesting. So what we did tonight was we allocated the money for the feasibility study. In about 90 days we'll get that back, and then the council will discuss that with the Criminal Justice Council, and then we'll be looking forward to moving from there.
And we have to move on this.
We have to. And this is something that's not a knee-jerk reaction. Over the past 10 years, going back to 2009, we've been over the capacity every year. Now, at varying levels, we're over the capacity, but we're over the capacity, and we're over at a point now where we have to address the situation, or we could run into a situation where the federal government addresses it for us. So we want to be proactive and make sure that we're doing what's right for our citizens and we're taking care of business. From there, we went into a couple of economic development items where we did special source revenue credits or infrastructure agreements for industry coming in. And with that, there are accompanying resolutions where basically it's County Council affirming that they want these things to happen. We heard from Burris Nelson, our Economic Development Director. We also went into 3 areas on Garrison Road in District 4. It's 3 pieces of property that went from single-family residential to residential agriculture, and that was something that the families have been working for and desired. And we did a rezoning in the Williamston area. That's going to be a unique project where it looks like somebody's wanting to put in a wedding venue and possible slash vineyard. And so that family was here tonight, and it was spoke about what their plans were there. From there, we did some pretty routine things with the Code of Ordinances, putting in sort of inclusiveness statements to make sure that everybody knows that with our procurement that we want to work with everybody and that that's stated affirmatively. And then we also we didn't close any roads, but we accepted some roads into inventory. And that's something that we periodically do when subdivisions happen and the developers do the roads the correct way, then we'll accept those into county inventory. And we had some of those up in the District 6 area. From that, we went into more in depth with the county finance meeting. I'm finance chairman, and we had a subcommittee meeting before this meeting, and that's where, for those that don't know, a subcommittee meeting is 3 county council members who will go in depth into that subject matter, and then they'll bring forth recommendations to the full body. From that subcommittee meeting, we brought forth recommendations that were approved for a bid to hire a firm to do a new county website. We also brought forth what they call A-tax recommendations. And for those that don't know, A-tax is accommodations tax. And this is where people stay in hotels in the county, and a little bit is put on their bill, and then that goes to recreation items. So this is people who are from outside the county, who are coming and staying in the county. Well, 30% of that money is available for nonprofit groups and groups within the county to apply to receive a small amount of money for their projects throughout the year if it's promoting recreation and it's promoting community activities. So every year what happens is these groups make an application, staff reviews it to make sure that it meets certain requirements, and then an A-tax committee reviews those, and then they make a recommendation to council. So tonight we approved the A-tax recommendations. We made some minor adjustments back and forth, but in all they were generally approved. And there was a little discussion with it, but nothing over the top. From there, we also donated a K-9 police vehicle to the city of Belton. And what happens a lot of times, and we tell people this all the time, Belton, Star Iva, Pendleton, City of Anderson, these are incorporated places within our county, but they're still county citizens. And so when we have a resource here at the county that can be used at a municipality, we're always looking to help. And so the Sheriff's Department had a K-9 vehicle. Belton was in need of a K-9 vehicle, so we donated that to them. From there, we hired some county workers. And I give this caveat, when we say that we hired county workers, these were positions that were already open. They were already filled, in the budget, but we just had not filled them with personnel yet. So it wasn't new positions, it wasn't new money. Actually, we saved money because in some cases these departments went 90 to 100 days without filling a position.
We had a freeze.
Yeah, we had a freeze. And so what ends up happening is the workers in those divisions are having to make up the work of extra people. And so they can only do that for a certain amount of time before we need to fill the positions. So we did that tonight, and it was register of deeds, it was facilities, solid waste, and the animal center. From that, we did an executive session. An executive session is simply where we're receiving legal advice from our county attorney, and we'll go into a private session briefly to hear the legal advice, and then we'll come out And tonight's executive session was about opioid litigation. There's an ongoing opioid litigation nationwide between states and counties and cities and big pharmaceutical companies, and we acted to move on the recommendation of our legal counsel. To end the night, we had 2 items. There was an ad hoc airport committee, and we have a lot of activity at the airport. We're building a new terminal. We have people coming in and out every day, and so Brett Sanders will chair that committee. Jimmy Davis and Tommy Dunn will serve on that committee, and they're going to be reviewing airport operations and making some recommendations moving forward. And then, as always, we end the night with some allocations from council to different nonprofits in the county. And we heard citizens' comments. We had a group show up from District 6 who had a nuisance item with dogs that they proposed, and we're going to get them help through local enforcement and codes. And then each council member made some comments, and that basically ended the night. So that wrapped up our first meeting of November. We'll go into the second meeting of the month right before Thanksgiving, and it'll slow down a little bit going into Christmas. But as always, we invite people to come out, contact your county council person, contact the county at any point.